So you're hearing it there, right? More calls from Democrats for this investigation into the controversial connections between President Trump's White House and Russia, connections that have been denied by top members of the administration. You've got we've been talking about now 90 minutes from now, Senate Democrats holding what you could call an emergency caucus right here on Capitol Hill to talk about all of this as it unfolds. I want to bring in now somebody from the other side of the aisle. Ron DeSantis, Republican from Florida and a member of the House Judiciary, Foreign Affairs and Oversight Committees, also the chairman of Oversight's National Security Subcommittee. Congressman, thank you for joining us here when we have plenty to discuss. I want to start now with these calls for an investigation. We haven't seen a ton of Republicans, right, joining Democrats here calling for this investigation into General Flynn, into the connections to Russia between President Trump, et cetera. Do you think there should be some kind of an independent inquiry here?
I think what we need to do is let's get the transcript of Flynn's call or calls with the Russian ambassador and then get whatever information the FBI has about it so we know what the actual underlying facts are. I don't think you need an independent commission because I was very supportive of that for Benghazi, but the reason why we did it for Benghazi is because we had 4 different committees of jurisdiction warring with one another, trying to investigate this. We were at cross purposes, and so it was just not working out. So you needed a select committee to streamline that. These allegations fall squarely within the jurisdiction of the Intel Committee, so I'm supportive of getting that information about the contents of General Flynn's call, and I'm also supportive of Chairman Devin Nunes's call to understand where these leaks are coming from, because the intelligence community has got a lot of authority, and it's supposed to be to keep America safe. If that's going to be used for political purpose, that's something that's concerning to Americans as well.
I want to talk about the leaks in a second, but I want to get back to something that you just said, Congressman. You haven't seen the transcripts, correct, of this call, these calls between
No,
Mike
not at
Flynn
all. So all we're going on is basically hearsay on it, and I think it'd be important to know what was discussed.
So I agree with you, and I think there's a lot of members of the public who agree with you. Will you commit to, if you do get the transcripts as part of one of your committees, will you make those public? Will you work to make those transcripts public?
Well, I can't commit to that because we may not have the authority to do it. I mean, for example, on the Oversight Committee, when we were doing oversight over Secretary Clinton's email use, we were not given access to the top secret emails that were uncovered there. They were always redacted, so I'm just not sure what the classification would be if there were any sources and methods issues. And then even with the Russian hacking of Podesta and some of those things, I was able to review, I'm not on the Intel Committee, so I was able to review a classified report, but it was not the full Monty, and there was a lot of kind of conclusory opinions, but they didn't put a lot of meat on the bones because they said that that was only for members of the House Intel Committee.
The point being, though, obviously the transparency would be key, and so I would wonder, again, about the idea of being transparent with whatever you do know about this conversation.
Well, I think here's the thing. If he was discussing potentially relaxing sanctions with the Russian ambassador, I oppose that. I think we need stronger sanctions on Russia. But you had an incoming administration. It's totally legitimate to be talking to other countries saying, hey, here's going to be our posture going forward. So if that's what he did, I don't think that he was violating a law to do that. So I'd want to know, is there something else in those conversations that would have caused him to mislead Vice President Mike Pence?
You mentioned your concern about leaks, Congressman. Within the last 15 minutes or so, we had Senator King over here on set. I'm not sure if you heard, but he called the calls for an investigation into those leaks a bit of a smokescreen. Is it a bit of a smokescreen to focus on the leaks rather than the real issue here, which is the connection between the Trump administration and Russia?
It's not a smokescreen. The bottom line in this country, if you get 270 or more electoral votes, you're the president of the United States. Donald Trump did that. There are people in the bureaucracy that don't like that, and I appreciate their views, but the president doesn't work for them. They work for the president. And if you're using this authority to put opposition research out on American citizens, that is not the way this power is supposed to be used. And I say that as somebody who would fear that if we go down this road, we could ultimately undermine our security, because I'm very supportive of our intelligence community, funding, authorization, what have you. But if the American people see this being used, are not meant to protect the American people, you will probably see some of the authority curtailed, and I think that will ultimately make the American people less safe. So it is a very important issue, and it does deserve a review.
Congressman, very quickly before I let you go, I want to touch on another topic that got kind of buried in the avalanche of news that has come out in the last 24 hours, and that is the House panel yesterday voting down a move by Democrats to try to get President Trump's tax returns released, to request that those be released via Treasury. Was that the right move?
You know, I'm not sure what the background was on it. I don't know if we typically order people's tax returns.
Should the president have his tax returns out there so that?
Well, I said during the campaign that all the presidential candidates should have released their tax returns. I'm supportive of that. He chose not to. The American people elected him anyways. So I think that's a voluntary thing. If you're going to use the coercive power of the state to get people's tax returns, I would need a little more background to see, has that been done before? When has it been done? And what are the implications of that?
Congressman Ron DeSantis of Florida. Next time we're going to make you walk across the Capitol here to set. Congressman, thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate it. We're about